Hi guys, this is Dr. Sadasivam once again with you. And today we are going to discuss some current topics, and we will be covering 7 topics today. One is Elon Musk's hostile bid to take over Twitter is what we will be talking about. Second, we will be talking about Russia, Sweden and Finland. Then we will be talking about a Russian flagship in the Baltic Sea which has been destroyed. And then we will also be talking about what kind of a help India is offering to Sri Lanka, and we will be talking about RUPEE RUBLE agreement, textile PLI. PLI stands for production linked incentive. And then we will be talking about budget CAPEX and how it goes. It is going to play a very, very important role in achieving our target of $5 trillion by 2025. Now we are going to talk about this hostile bid for Twitter. Now, when you talk about Twitter, especially during the current times, we need to remember whose name comes to our mind. It is Elon Musk. As we all know, Elon Musk is the CEO of Tesla. And he's one of the richest person in the world. He's the richest person, so to say. And currently, he's the biggest share of Twitter. I think he owns currently around 9% shares of Twitter, 9 or 10%. Now, when we talk about Twitter, other person that we need to keep in mind is Parag Agarwal. He's from India, proud giant, Bharat Mata ki jai, and he happens to be the CEO of Twitter. And going by the reports, he's welcoming Musk into this. Though there are a lot of people in the board who are not very happy with Elon Musk taking a seat in the board, and in fact the Elon Musk is willing to buy the Twitter shares at somewhere around $55 or so. Currently it's trading at around 47 or something, and it's pertinent to also remember that the 52-week high for this particular share was somewhere around $72. Now, what is the reason? As far as Elon Musk is concerned, he is a very strong advocate of free speech. Now, he also feels that free speech is extremely important for a thriving democracy. And now he feels that with the current conditions, he says that this imperative cannot be served if Twitter follows its current policies, and he thinks that it's high time for a change. Now, there's one more person who is opposing Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter, and that person is, please remember, very important. It is the Saudi Prince Al-Walid bin Talal. And this person from Saudi, he has some of the crown prince or something like that. He holds around 6% in Twitter. Now let's talk about Russia, Sweden and Finland. Now guys, after Ukraine, there are 2 countries, which is Sweden and Finland, who are on the line to join NATO. Talks are on, and Putin has taken this very, very seriously. Before we do that, let's understand Finland is a country which shares more than 1,300 kilometer border with Russia. 1,300 kilometers, just to give you a perspective, it's the distance between Delhi and Mumbai, right? Finland gained independence from Russia in the year 1917. Please note this point. It used to be with Russia, and it gained the independence during 1917 when there was a big revolution. I will be coming out with another video series on this particular thing. And Finland had fought wars during the Second World War. Those of you who know that, it's very, very important. But as far as Finland is concerned, they have never fought a war in the last 200 years. Very, very important. We are talking about Sweden, and Finland has already started doing some military exercises, especially in the West Finland. And you know who is participating? The countries like your Britain, US, Latvia, Estonia, all these countries are participating in those military exercises. We are talking about Finland, right? Guys, one more important thing, your Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Iceland, they are called as Nordic countries. Very, very important news, especially asked in a lot of competitive examinations, whether it is IAS, whether it is UPSC probationary officers. Very, very important question. Now, one more person when we talk about is Dmitry Medvedev. If you remember, he is currently the deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council, and he has clearly said that Russia will not allow Sweden and Finland to join NATO. If you remember, Medvedev was the Russian president from 2018 to 2012. and this needs to be taken very, very seriously. Let us see how this pans out in the coming days. Now we are going to talk about a Russian flagship which has been damaged, and the name of that Russian ship is Moskva. We've already talked about it in the earlier things, but it's extremely important from a competitive examinations point of view, and the name of the ship is Moskva. Now Ukrainians are claiming that they had hit it by a missile called as Neptune missile, whereas Russians have said that it was because of a fire in the ship. Now we're not very sure how much it will change the course of the war, and Russians are on the verge of taking the strategic city of Mariupol. We have long been discussing about it, because Mariupol has a very strategic place, because it can be connected to Crimea. Remember this Crimean invasion of Russia in the year 2014? Now once that happens, Crimea is under Russians' control, and this place Mariupol, if it is captured, then Russia will have an extremely strategic advantage, and that was where this flagship Moskva was deployed, and that's where it sunk, right? Various views. Let's see, it had a crew of 700 people. Now another important thing, we have been talking about Indian Sri Lankan help, because Sri Lanka has approached India for financial help. Now they have appointed a new finance minister. His name is Ali Sabri. Please remember this. In essay question, whenever questions about international diplomacy comes, try to add these points about India-Sri Lanka relationship, and the Sri Lankan delegation has met the Indian delegation, and they have sought economic cooperation from us. In fact, they have sought $2 billion from India. And when you talk about $2 billion, it's over and above $2.5 billion that India had given them in the past, recent past. Now, they've asked for food grains. People are starving there. So, India has sent more than 11,000 metric tons of rice. It is apart from the other 500 metric tons which was sent to them last week. And they've also sought India's help in restructuring some of those debts, because typically they are in a very, very bad state. They don't have money to buy fuel. Balance of payment is really in a crisis, guys. Remember, all that happened because Sri Lanka they granted lots and lots of tax cuts to people, absolutely without any economic sense, just to make the people happy, right? Guys, those guys who are crying hordes over rising petrol prices, etc., etc., please hold on. It's better to live with little bit of price increases rather than get into a crisis kind of a situation. From that there will be no return. It will be a point of no return, and that's a great lesson we need to learn from Sri Lanka, right? Now preemptively they have announced that they may be defaulting on some of the foreign debts. That's the situation Sri Lanka is in today, and of course the emergency measures are being taken, and they are taking it seriously. Now, as far as the Indian-Russian international agreements are concerned, we have all been talking about this RUPEE-RUBLE agreement. Yes, that is good. Russia has been a friend of India for the last 70 years. They have been one of our major defense suppliers, though in the last 3-4 years, slightly things have changed. But all said and done, we have supported Russia by not voting against Russia in the UN resolutions, and India continues to hold the same stand, because the United States and European Union's relationship with China, with Russia, is totally different from India's relationship with China, because India, whenever it decides its international policies, we will be doing that keeping in mind our own interests. Because when we talk about our interests, we are typically talking about two belligerent enemy countries. One is China on one side on the east, and your Pakistan on the west. So we have to take into considerations these factors, these important factors, before we decide which side to take, right? These are part of diplomacy, and we leave it to the wisdom of the government to do that. Now, as far as the RUPEE-RUBLE agreement is concerned, things are not very easy, because Russian ruble has become extremely volatile in the past few days, especially since the war in Ukraine started. The ruble plunged to 158 rupees a dollar a few weeks back, and then once again it strengthened to 83 rubles. Now, when you talk about a RUPEE-RUBLE agreement with Russia, how do you manage this? the currency fluctuation between fluctuating between $153 and then $80 suddenly getting strengthened. So the Commerce Ministry is creating a mechanism to help the traders face this issue. This is being discussed on the highest levels. And Delhi in the past had used third country banks to settle trades with Iran, because Iran is one more country where the sanctions have been imposed by US, right? So the government is very, very cautious this time. And who is the man at the helm? Two people. One is Shaktikanta Das, who is the RBI governor. He is working out mechanisms. And of course, we have the Jai Shankar, who is the External Affairs Minister, who is doing all this. Now we are going to talk about a textile PLI. Textile PLI is extremely important. PLI means for production linked incentives. PLIs are one thing which will encourage manufacturing sector to up their competitiveness, both for domestic supply as well as for international competitiveness. Now 61 applications have been received with an investment potential of approximately 20,000 crores, and the projected turnover of this will be somewhere around 2 lakh crores in the next 5 years, right, under this PLI. And there will be two parts to it. That is part one, where the minimum investment will be 300 crores, the maximum turnover, minimum turnover to be achieved will be around 600 crores. Remember that, because this PLI cannot be offered for every Tom, Dick and Harry. It is available for few companies which can really invest big money into it, generate opportunities, bring foreign technology inside, become more and more productive and become globally competitive. That is what is the main need. So obviously you cannot have small players, because economies of scale is extremely important. In the part two, we have one more scheme where the minimum investment is somewhere around 100 crores and the minimum turnover for that will be 200 crores. As of now, please understand that this question might come in the IAS examination. 13 companies have applied for part 1 and 48 companies under part 2, and through this more than 2.5 lakh jobs are expected to be generated. Remember, there's very important thing which is called as MITRA. MITRA stands for Mega Investments in Textile Parks, right? The government so far has received somewhere around 17 proposals from 13 states, and the government also has decided to remove import duty on cotton. This may boost our textile industries to a great level, and for the whole thing the government's outgo on incentives will be somewhere around 6,000 crores. That's what is expected. Now if you look at the budget CAPEX, the government is aiming a $5 trillion by 2025. $5 trillion, guys. If you look at the tax revenues in the last fiscal, it grew by 34% to 27 lakh crores, guys. 27 lakh crores means 27 trillion rupees, not dollars, 27 trillion rupees. Now, why is that being done? It is focusing to make India a global economic power, guys. Increased revenue collection for the exchequer while keeping India on the track to this $5 trillion economy. In fact, if you all remember, GST was a very big revolutionary step in this particular direction. And you have also seen the last year's budget. Nirmala Sitharaman, Madam, our finance minister, had talked a lot about how CAPEX, both private CAPEX as well as the government CAPEX, will push the infrastructure in this country. Huge investments are going to be made. And remember, each of these investments made in infrastructure has a multiplier effect, right? The corporate taxes have also grown manifold. It's somewhere around 8.5 lakh crores. Some important factors: new simplified tax regime is one, the low interest rates, exemptions have all been taken out today, and ease of business for the corporate sector. So these are some of the things which are fueling the India today. Okay guys, this is Dr. Sadasivam once again with you, and I'm signing off till we meet again. Bye bye. Jai Hind.